All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13, as we are preparing to get underway here for the final race of this year's Porsche Cup for the X League Series. Gonna be a little bit smaller field, a little bit larger we anticipate than what we had last week at Watkins Glen, but will still be a bit on the smaller side in terms of field size today. The lap times here at Yas are just a little bit quicker than what they were at Watkins Glen. I very, very highly anticipate that we'll be looking at a rate. Ooh, wow, that is dramatically different. I'm gonna try something real quickly with my TV and see if this changes things. I'm swapping my TV settings real quickly and see if that's gonna change things. I just now found this. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying, this is likely going to be a little bit smaller of a grid. We're only looking at about 8, maybe 9 drivers if Captain Dan can get a stable connection for tonight's event. Like I said last week at Watkins Glen, the Drivers' Championship is locked up. The Manufacturers' Championship is locked up. Let's go ahead and look over the point standings as they are coming into this final race. I'm not expecting a lot of changes, but still not a bad thing to look over these anyway before we get into the event proper here. So, in the Manufacturers' Championship, Chevrolet is at the bottom with 17 points, Dodge and Ferrari are tied with 27 points each, but Ferrari does have a win on the season. Porsche has 30 points, and it's a giant jump to third, which is BMW with 246 points. Second is Aston Martin with 367 points, and your team's championship winner is the Ford team. In the Drivers' Championship, it goes like this. 30th is CL and Clinical with 27 points. 29th is Simply Clicks with 28 points. There's a tie for 27th between Parco 5 and SSR Quinn, 30 points each. NWR Arkina has 33 points. He's 26. 25th, 24th, 23rd, 22nd, and 21st are all tied. It's a 5-way tie between Wiza 4, AF2 Miniero, Dex Perfect, Sir Brandy, and NDL Shadow. 20th is Illuminatrix. They have 39 points. 19th is NDL Aeolist. He has 40 points. There is a tie for 17th between Les Railgun and VNX Runes. They both have 41 points each. 16th is Bluesy Dragon, 400. He has 48 points. 15th is Front Wheel Drive Jordy with 51 points. 14th is HGR Turtle with 57 points. 13th is Inlaid Wheat, 5120. He has 62 points. 12th is SPV Rebuilt with 72 points. 11th is Manuel Pedro with 74 points. 10th is F1R Geekin with 82 points. 9th is SPV Matthews H with 84 points. 8th is Car Relamps with 90 points. 7th is Octavio ZZ with 97 points. 6th is SRT Jeff DXC, last week's winner at Watkins Glen. He has 111 points. 5th is Dex Carino, the only driver who has won multiple races over the course of the year. He has 3 wins and 122 points total. 4th is Pip Central with 179 points. 3rd is Savage with 207 points. 2nd is Subaru with 226 points. And your champion is Lil Kid Suave. He is the only driver with more than 300 points. He has 304 points exactly coming into today's event. So it looks like it will be a 9-car field for today's event. We also want to give a quick shout out thanks to XR Monaco for doing what we believe will be pace car duties today. Car Relamps, once again, easily took pole today. I think he won pole, if I remember correctly, by something like 9/10 of a second. And we saw last week at Watkins Glen, he was able to carry most of that speed over to the race without too much issue, even though he was running a suboptimal strategy. However, yellow flag came out. He decided to stay out, tried to fight with other drivers, ended up not working in his favor, and he fell well down the order, did not even crack the top 5 by the end of it. But Car Relamps has some great speed. If there's not any wacky, wild yellow flag shenanigans, Car Relamps should pretty easily take home the victory in tonight's event. For everyone else, they're really just here for fun. This is kind of a wrap-up for the season. The big focus is, unsurprisingly, going to be on tomorrow night's GT3 season finale, where there is both a Drivers' Champion. I believe the Drivers' Championship is wrapped up there, but there is a Manufacturers' Championship up for grabs in that series. And yes, XR Monaco is going to do the safety car duties for today's event. So once again, we just want to give a quick shout-out of thanks to him. Real quickly, a look at the grid. We use the rail camera so you can get kind of a look. Car Relamps, for whatever reason, the paint schemes do not load on his car, but he is on pole. IRT Subaru qualified 2nd. Lil Kid Suave, the season's champion, number 66. He's qualified 3rd. 4th is Pip Central, number 57. 5th is his teammate, Savage, 6647. Savage and Subaru are in a fight for 2nd, but generally Subaru has been Savage's better. It would take something crazy for Savage to overtake Subaru for 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the event. Wiza 4 put together a handful of respectable laps in qualifying in that number 8 machine. Then you have Appa Likes You. Appa was not able to get anything close to respectable times. He just had an absolute atrocious time in qualifying, and so did Kyle Sawyer, who's going to round out the field in next to last, if not for the fact that Captain Dan missed qualifying but was still arrived in time for the race. So we don't really know what Captain Dan's performance or pace is going to be looking like over the course of the event here. We'll see the field come down into the chicane between the two back straightaways here. Yas Marina, a very interesting circuit because Sector 1 and Sector 2, very straight line focus, but Sector 3, very, very twisty. Tire fall off isn't the worst here. It's not particularly bad or good compared to other circuits, but it's always interesting to see how things play out here as races go on when it comes to balancing speed with handling. And in this series, where it is fixed tunes across the grid, across the board, it's going to be a little bit more interesting to see how the tires end up falling off over the course of the race, varying from one driver to another. We've seen a lot of variety in how the tires fall off from driver to driver in this series. Another thing to consider, strategy could be up in the air as well. This is a 47-lap race. The racing laps are going to be a little bit shorter than 2 minutes here. So realistically, you can anticipate this race to go for about an hour and a half if we have no yellows. If we have some yellows, it will likely take a little bit longer. The speeds we saw in qualifying will be a little bit faster than what we'll see in the race proper here. XR Monaco nearly sliced the pace car off track there. But it's going to be Car, Relamps, and IRT Subaru at the head of the field. Lil Kid Swab and Pip Central will be starting in row 2. Savage and Wiza, row 3. Appa and Kyle Sawyer, row 4. Captain Dan will have the 5th row all to himself. A smaller field for this final race here for the Porsche Cup for Exley. And now we see the field beginning to double up. Out of the final corner. And when they hit the line, we'll go green flag for the last race in the Porsche Cup this season. And we are underway once again. And Relamps didn't look like he had the great start that he wanted. Looking at it immediately, he's under attack from the inside by Lil Kid Swab, but Swab does not push the issue, doesn't get alongside of him. Still, Relamps and Subaru side by side as they come to turn 2. This is likely, though, where Subaru backs out of it and then lets Relamps get by. Subaru tries to get back alongside here in turn 3. He's got a run coming out of the corner, side by side between Relamps and Subaru. Still side by side. Subaru just about clears Relamps under the braking zone, but Subaru's trapped on the outside line. Very suboptimal. Relamps powers out from the inside, slides the car right in front of Subaru. Relamps holds on to the top spot. Pip Central and Lil Kid Swab fighting further back, but Relamps and Subaru seem to be in a zone of their own right now as they go down the first of the 2 back straightaways. Subaru looking to the outside, neck and neck, and now they go heavy into the first braking zone here. The first heavy braking zone, I would argue. Relamp still has the advantage, but a lot of twitchiness out of that car, it seems, as he comes out of the corner. Now Subaru once again gets a run, looking to the outside again on Relamp. So they'll be neck and neck as they come down to this next super heavy braking zone. It's going to be a long, sweeping corner, a little bit of door-to-door contact between the two of them, and Relamp slides wide. Relamp slides wide, and Subaru goes by, but leaves the inside open. Can Relamp put the power down and get alongside? Oh, he tried, but the power was not there. Subaru is in front of Relamps now. And Subaru, who is about a second off of Relamps' pace in qualifying, has just taken the lead here from Relamps early. You have to wonder, is that coming down to tire strategy? Does Subaru have a softer compound tire than what Relamps has right now? Another slide from Relamps as they come out of the hotel section, now through the last 2 corners. Big run off circuit there by Relamps, very suboptimal line there. But Subaru has the lead, and they come out of the final corner and cross the line. And already it looks like Subaru is doing a decent job holding on to station over Relamps here. Pip Central has stabilized in 3rd. Lil Kid Swab is in 4th. 5th place goes to Savage, who is just barely ahead of Wiza. And then you've got Appa Likes You right behind Wiza right now. Captain Dan just a little bit farther back. And then Kyle Sawyer nowhere close to these 4 here. So in the mid to rear section of the field, we have these 4 drivers all still on top of each other. Wiza cuts down right in front of Appa. They come out of that almost hairpin onto the first of the back straightaways again. Wiza will have a draft off of Savage as they go down the back straightaway this time by. Will there be any attempts at a move? Nothing there. Not that time. Liza seems a little bit reserved. Not willing to push it there. Ooh, but Savage didn't have a good time coming out of the chicane. Liza a little bit smoother, putting the power down. I think, though, he's just too far back. While he will get the draft, he's not going to be close enough to try and make a lunge under braking here. So we turn our focus back to the lead. Relamp still hanging out behind IRT Subaru right now. Pip Central not too far behind from our lead duo at the moment. Through Sector 3. Another slide from Relamps there. Just looks like he isn't very confident with the grip in that car, but he's not losing a massive amount of ground to Subaru. I do feel that Relamps' entire strategy is just he's going to run a harder compound tire and let the race come to him. So we're going to go ahead and start looking at the telemetry. So Relamps, he's at 16% tire wear right now. We'll look at Subaru, who's just ahead of him. His tire wear is at 23%. So yeah, that makes it pretty clear that Subaru is on a much softer compound of tire than Relamps is. Pip Central in third, 25%, so he's also on a softer compound tire. Look Suave in fourth, 16, so he's on the harder compound tire. And you got Savage right behind, 24, so he's on the softer compound tire. Then you have Wiza 4 back here in sixth, 16%, so he's on a harder compound tire. Captain Dan here in seventh, 16%, but he's got engine damage, and that's really going to hurt him. Appa Likes You in 8th. He's got 16%. So again, another driver with a harder compound tire. And then Kyle Sawyer, last place runner at the moment, 17% on a harder compound tire. It looks like Savage is trying to get by Little Kid Suave. So yeah, Suave may be running on a more strategic focus right now, but it's very obvious that he doesn't have that sheer outright pace that he'd really like to have on these harder compounds. He's really being harassed by Savage right now. Subaru had not won a race thus far in the season. If my memory serves correctly, and if the points tally is right, Subaru has not yet won a race this year in a season that has been incredibly competitive. All but two of our races have been won by a driver who's only won that event. Again, Dex Corino, I believe his name was, won 3 races, but other than that, everyone has only won a single time. So a very, very competitive season all the way through here. Subaru would love to cap the season off with a victory of his own, but while he has got track position right now, it does not look like he has the pace to run away from Relamps before his own tires start falling off. Savage and Suave still going at it, and it looks like Savage around the outside goes right by Suave without issue, and Wiza is just about to catch them. Captain Dan has moved to 7th position, but doesn't seem to be able to do anything else right now. In that pink Porsche, that's Appa going to his inside. And Captain Dan will try and cross him over on the exit of turn 1, side by side as they come into turn 2. Captain Dan, though, should have the line of choice. He does. And Appa Likes You, the car washes out there in the aero wake going through turn 3. Again, I look at our top 2. The interesting thing as well is going to be Pip Central in 3rd there. If Pip is doing a slightly better job managing his tires than Subaru is, then when Relamp starts fighting with Pip to get back by him, with Subaru to get back by him, Pip could be immediately right in the middle of the fray all over again. Another small slide there. Still no big attempts at a move. So this race starting out a little bit on the calmer side tonight. Relamp starting to show some speed with those tires, though. He is closing in the braking zones. We'll see him coming out of the hotel section here. Ooh, Relamp seems to have slipped off just a bit, and that's going to put him under threat from Pip Central here. But Pip doesn't seem to be able to do anything either. Real quickly, I want to look at Subaru's tires. He is at 39%, so just about 40% after 5 racing laps. So if he's burning about 8% a lap, if he's at 40% after 5 racing laps, then do a little bit of math there. I think he could maybe make this go 8 laps and then would have to pit after 8 laps of racing. So if the soft tires can only last 8 laps, and the medium tires will likely be able to last something closer to 12. So if it's going to be 8 laps on the softs all the way through, 6 times 8 is 48. You could make it on 5 stops, but that is a lot of pit stops. I don't imagine anyone would want to do that. Now, the pit lane here at Yas Marina isn't the longest or the worst, but you still lose a lot of time on it. But meanwhile, if you're running the medium strategy, and if I'm right, you can go 12 laps on the medium tires. You pit on lap 12 or 13. Then again on 24, 25. Then again on 36, 37. That's it. You can make the entire race on just 3 stops. So, yes, soft tires may give you pace, and we're actually seeing Subaru open the gap on relamps just a little bit right now. But the soft tires, I don't think will have the pace to let you outrun 2 pit stops. 1 pit stop, sure, maybe you can outrun that, but I don't see any world where you can outrun 2 entire pit stops. Although relamps is still under pressure here from Pip Central right now. Sadly, our ticker is a little bit malfunctioned, and it's not accurately showing us the gap between Subaru. Oh! Relamp slaps the outside wall there coming out of the hotel section. So Relamps may have had some incredible pace in qualifying, but now on a harder compound tire being pressured from behind, Relamps is showing some weakness, a lot of weakness, a big slide out of the final corner. Pip's gonna pull up alongside him, side by side for a second position here. Pip looking at the outside, Relamps all sorts of sideways, and Pip's gonna keep him squeezed down a little bit tighter than he was coming out of turn number 1. Relamps will still have the car ahead as they come down to turn number 2. Very nearly hits the inside wall, the rear of the car is sliding all over the place, and Pip holding a much more stable line. Mighty Relamps is on the tires that should be lasting without issue. Pip should be on the worn out tires, but Pip seems to be the one who is being much more aggressive right now, and as these two are fighting, this is exactly what Subaru needs to try and salvage any chance he can to win this race on this alternate strategy. Now they come down the back straightaway, the first of the 2 back straightaways here once again. Pip Central runs in the draft of car Relamps here. Savage runs about 4.5 seconds out from this duo at the moment. No move under braking this time from Pip Central. He's just a little bit too far back. But Relamps has really been having struggles with grip in that thing. Another slide out of the rear of the car as they come out of the chicane, but I think he has just enough of a gap on Pip here that he'll be able to defend against Pip here in the braking zone. But again, if you're this much slower on the medium tires, oh, Relamps completely missed the apex. He's still sliding. The only thing that's going to keep him ahead of Pip is that Pip also missed the apex. Not as aggressively, but he did also miss the apex. But both Relamps and Pip are just hemorrhaging time, and it's letting Subaru scoot away just a little bit. Another really wide line from Relamps, and then Subaru took a little bit too tight of a line. So Subaru's trying to figure out a line so that way he can capitalize when Relamps is sideways and into the wall. Not nearly as aggressive as it was last time, but Relamps is really showing some unhappiness in that Porsche right now. Out of the final corner, and down the front straightaway once again. Pip seems to have fallen off from Relamps just a bit. I think the tires are finally going away for our soft runners. Looking at Subaru, his tires are at 57% right now. Just for comparison, car Relamps, even though he is absolutely struggling with these tires, he's only at 40.6%. But it's the rear tires that are wearing out faster for Relamps. For Subaru, it is his front tires. So a significant difference in how they're handling their cars. Even though the tunes are spec, the driver ability to adapt to the tune and how they tackle the tune is massively different. It seems like Relamps is having much more issue with the rear of the car. Subaru is just burning off the front of the car. Typically in Forza, you want to have more front tire wear than rear tire wear, because when your front tires are wearing off, it's very easy to still tackle the corners. You just gotta back up your braking zones a little bit more. When the rears are burning off, though, it compromises everything with the car and makes everything so much worse. Relam seems to be struggling right now, but his struggles will only get worse and worse if those tires hit to the 60% mark. But again, Relam's likely looking at a 3-stop strategy. Subaru looking at what could be a 5-stop strategy. Unless potentially Subaru wants to try a 4-stop strategy and swap out 3 of the stints on the sauce for 2 stints on mediums. I don't imagine that would be very ideal, but that could be a attempt that you could go for. All right, so now Relams is caught right back up to Subaru here. Your pole sitter now putting the outside pole sitter under pressure, and Subaru says, I've had enough. He ducks into the pits at the end of lap 8. So yes, it does look like the soft tires can only go about 8 laps here. Really, that was 7 racing laps and then a pace lap, but I do think you could probably stretch out 8 racing laps. So you do the math, 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. That's a 5-stop strategy. Unless they want to swap out some of their soft runs with medium runs, they might still be able to make it a 4-stop. So Savage now moves up into the 2nd position. Savage, though, at 70% tire life. Oh my goodness. Well, he's paying the piper now. He's willing to deal with all the bad tire fall-off now to have less problematic tire fall-off later in the race, is my guess. So while he has moved up to 2nd, he is completely off on his own. Wiza has moved ahead of Lil Kid Suave for the moment. But Wiza, his tire is 43% right now. A look at Lil Kid Suave, who runs right behind him. He is at 45%. And it looks like Suave is also dealing with a little bit more rear tire fall-off right now rather than front tire fall-off. And after pitting, Subaru and Pip have ended up behind Kyle Sawyer. So they have quite literally, Subaru has gone from leading to next to last. And the only driver he's still ahead of is his teammate, who was on the exact same strategy running behind him. Now, obviously, once Savage pits at the end of this lap, he's going to fall behind both of these guys because his tire fall-off is going to be absolutely unbearable to deal with, I imagine. And Car Relamps, while he's not exactly putting down any lightning fast, amazing laps, he's in a fantastic position when it comes to managing his rubber right now. He doesn't have to worry about other drivers on track. He can just focus down. We're expecting he can probably go to about lap 12. Now, if it turns out that he can only go to lap 11, well, that's going to make things a little bit more interesting because that would be lap 11 or 12-ish, and then 22 to 23, 33 to 34, and he'd still be a few laps short. Oh my goodness, has Wiza already passed Savage? Savage's tires gone? Oh wow, Savage's tires really have gone that bad already. 76%. Now, his engine damage obviously isn't going to help him any. Gotta be careful coming in the pits. You don't want to miss the pit entry here. It's very easy to do so because of the awkward angle it is. But yes, Savage does make it into the pits. So Wiza now moves up into 2nd position. And Lil Kid Suave, your champion of this season, moves up into 3rd. Carl Relamps leads by about 11 seconds over the rest of the field right now. Already Subaru has dispatched Kyle Sawyer and is looking ahead at Captain Dan. They'll all go by Savage here. Savage, he's going to have a slight tire advantage to the end of this race, but he has paid the piper dearly, and he's going to be behind in track position for a large chunk of the remaining sections of the race. And again, Subaru and Savage are in a fight with each other for 2nd in Drivers' Championship. Now, reminder, X-League pays a small amount of cash out to the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship in both Porsche Cup and the GT3 Championship. So a fight for 2nd and 3rd, I believe, is a payment of $10 versus $20, if my memory serves correctly. But right now, Subaru is well ahead of Sawyer, although well ahead of Savage, although I do think Savage may be on a slightly more optimum tire strategy right now, but he is currently about 11 seconds behind Subaru. I don't see it happening anytime soon. And Subaru pulls up behind Captain Dan. Does not go for a move into the chicane this time by. But he's going to try and wrap around the outside, puts the tower down. Well, he didn't make the move going into the chicane, but he sure made the move coming out of it. That is a marked sign of someone who is very happy with their car. And Subaru moves up in the 5th, and now he'll be in nice clean air for a nice long while. Relamps is already pitting! Relamps is pitting much earlier than anyone anticipated! He's only hit 57% on his tires, but he's pitted on lap 10, so he only went 9 laps on the mediums. Are we seeing a repeat of what he did back at Watkins Glen? Just willing to run a few extra laps on the mediums earlier in the event, and then we'll just go all softs all the way through the rest of the race. Well, this will put the duo of Wiza and Lil Kid Suave into the lead of the race now. And the question, of course, is going to be, is Relamp's going to be ahead or behind Subaru? Appa is going to pit as well. Relamp still in pit lane, well, in the exit tunnel of pit lane right now. And Subaru is just now coming onto the front straightaway. Yeah, Relamps is going to be way clear of Subaru. There is nothing even close between the two of them. Subaru is just now getting into turn number 1. Relamps is about to enter turn 2. He can put the power down and just immediately go. Yeah, Relamps is ahead of Subaru still. There is nothing between them. So even if Relamps jumps onto the all-soft strategy now, he would not only have a tire advantage, he now has a track position advantage over Subaru. So yes, it seems like, barring some yellow flags, which is what took the race win away from Relamps last week, this is going to wrap up this race win likely in favor of Relamps. So what of our current leaders, Wiza and Little Kid Suave? Ooh, Suave really wide, sliding very wide through there. I look at the tire life on them. 58% right now for Lil Kid Suave. For Wiza, his most worn tire, 57%, but it's on the front, while Suave's most worn tires are on the rears. So the handling characteristics are going diametrically differently compared to the two of them. Suave's going to have a lot more sliding out of the rear, while Wiza is going to have a lot more understeer. Do either of them pit this time by? Yes, Suave says I've had enough. Suave jumps into the pits here on lap 11, but Wiza stays out for another lap, so he's going to make it 12 laps here. So Wiza is pushing it, but again, there is a very strong possibility that if you can go 12 laps all the way through the entire race, you can make this a 3-stop race. Normally, the difference between softs and mediums in these races are only all softs versus all mediums. It usually only comes down to 1 pit stop. Today, it would be a 2-stop difference. And while Wiza's next 2 stints would really push the limit on the medium tires, the final stint, he wouldn't be pushed quite as far. So unsurprisingly, Cars Relamps will retake 2nd position. Subaru will retake 3rd here, and he's bringing Pip Central with him. They're both still well clear of Little Kid Suave. Suave's going to be behind Savage as well, I imagine. Kyle Sawyer also went ahead and pitted with Suave this time by. I'm really interested, though, to see what Wiza is going to end up doing here. So, right now, everyone except Wiza has gone ahead and made a pit stop in this race. Wiza, we believe, may be going for a 3-stop strategy. Car Relamps, we believe, is likely initially what we thought he was going to do, maybe a 3-stop, but Relamps may have changed focus to a 4-stop strategy. Subaru and Pip Central, we believe, are on a 5-stop strategy. Savage, we think, is also on a 5-stop strategy. And the only driver yet who has yet to make a stop is Wiza, as we are watching him right now at the end of his 12th lap. And those tires are at 63% wear. That's not the worst. It's not great, but again, Wiza potentially, if he goes all medium tires all the way through, he could potentially make this a 3-stop strategy as he now comes into the pit lane at the end of his 12th lap. But that's only 11 laps of racing, so if he goes 12 laps on the medium tires again, those would be 12 racing laps, and those tire wears would be just a little bit higher. But we're going to see Relamps hit the outside wall. He keeps licking the outside wall there, but we're going to see Relamps retake the lead here from Wiza. But already, Relamps, who waited until lap 10 to make a stop, he got off medium tires, and now we aren't 100% sure what tire compound Relamps is on right now. There is a possibility, I'm not going to say it will happen, but there is a possibility that Relamps might commit to 4 stops, but he might commit to a 4-stop strategy doing only the medium tires and only push the medium tires out to about the 55% wear range. If he wants to stay out 9, 10 laps each stint on the medium tires. Do the math. 10 plus 9, that would be 19. 19 plus 9 would be 28. 28 plus 9 would be 37. And then just do mediums again. That would be pit on 10, pit on 19, pit on 28, pit on 37. That would be a 4-stop strategy. So relamps might try a 4-stop strategy only on the mediums by just not pushing the mediums out to an extreme wear rate. So that is something to keep an eye on. And again, the other driver to keep an eye on an alternate strategy is Savage, because Savage also, we believe, is going all softs all the way through. That would still be a 5-stop strategy, but Savage has already done what I like to call pay the piper. He's already run his absolute worst run on the soft tires. He went 9 laps on the softs. He could choose to only go 8 laps on the softs from here on out. So while he has a track position disadvantage to his teammate / rival Subaru, he does have tire advantage for the rest of this run. Also, Subaru has actually ended up falling behind Pit Central as this race has gone on, and this might be the reason why. 24% wear right now on Subaru's tires. I look at Pip Central, who is just ahead of him. He is at 40% wear. So I think Subaru went ahead and jumped onto a set of medium tires, and Pip has gone onto another set of soft tires here. So Subaru's going to mix his strategy up, some soft runs, some medium runs, while Pip Central is likely going to go all softs, or at least a lot more softs throughout the event. So right now, Pip Central absolutely clicking off some great laps, but that is off the back of a lighter fuel load and fresher tires, and those lap times are going to collapse and fall down as this race continues to go on. And then obviously, Appa Likes You and Captain Dan running way back here in 7th and 8th position, just kind of out of contention to have everything. Wiza, actually not too far out from Little Kid Suave. And mind you, Suave pitted a lap earlier than Wiza, and we think that Suave may be on a similar, not the same, but a similar strategy to what Relamps may be, although he elected to pit a little bit earlier, so we'll keep an eye on how that turns out. But Wiza, if he's going for a 3-stop strategy on the mediums, well, spending all this time fighting with Little Kid Suave is not going to help him. Sure, you potentially gain time in the straightaways, but you're likely to lose that much time or more in the corners dealing with the arrow wash of other drivers, and that is likely going to derail Wiza's shot at well, I can't say that, because again, cutting out 1 to 2 entire pit stops compared to the other drivers is a massive, massive benefit here. And now, one more thing to take a look at, and that is going to be time penalties. Car Relamps already at 2.6 seconds of time penalties, so a late race restart would not be great for him. Pip Central, who's moved up into 2nd position, 1 second of time penalties, no penalties for Subaru. Savage has 2.6 seconds of penalties. Little Kid Suave, your champion, 1.6 seconds. Wiza, no penalties yet, although with how these two are racing each other, I don't see that staying that way. Appa Likes You, 2.3 seconds of time penalties, and Captain Dan has 2.6 seconds as these two fire it off into the hairpin right before they get onto the first of the 2 back straightaways, and Appu's going to hold over Captain Dan a little bit longer. Kyle Sawyer still no time penalties thus far in the event. So your leader is Car Relamps. Pip Central only runs about 4.2 seconds out, but Pip Central is going to have a pit stop coming sooner rather than later. Already 50% wear on those soft tires, so it's not like Pip Central is absolutely closing in on Relamps with a massive amount of speed right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a Twitch mandated ad break, and while we do, we're going to spin the lap on board with Wiza 4 as he fights with Suave and tries to make this alternate strategy work. We'll be back shortly here at Yas Marina. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Yas Marina here. We're about a third of the way through the event right now. All drivers have made one pit stop, and only one pit stop thus far, but we're expecting that to change shortly as we're keeping an eye on Pip Central already at 63% tire wear. He has gone 8 laps and 8 laps on his tires. We believe that they are going for what would be a 5-stop strategy, all softs all the way through the event. Now again, I could be wrong. They could elect to jump onto the mediums a little bit later on to make something else happen. But right now, we think that Pip Central may be on a 5-stop strategy, trying to go for sheer outright pace. And to be fair, he has outran Subaru thus far, and Subaru, who is on that harder compound tire, is now fighting with Savage at the moment. Savage, who is also on soft tires, but tires that are a lap fresher still than what Pip Central did, because Savage pitted a lap later than Pip did. Although he is apparently ran with a little bit of engine damage that's not going to help him. Subaru on the medium tires that still have some life in them, but not a lot of pace. Savage is sliding wide, so he's starting to find some significant fall off in his tires as well. And Pip Central has already lost about a second to a second and a half on relamps this last lap alone. So while Car Relamps has this race in the bag, assuming no yellow flag wildness, which is what happened last week at Watkins Glen, the fight's going to be for second between the 3 teammates here of Pip, Savage, and Subaru, all 3 of them on alternate strategies, all 3 of them curious to see how it's all going to play out, and Pip Central makes it into the pits now. Savage should be able to stay out for another lap and harass Subaru a bit longer. Now, I say harass, he's actually the one holding the station over Subaru, but that's likely not going to last to the end of this lap. Again, the tire fall off is going to be absolutely killer here. And then you got Lil Kid Suave and Wiza still fighting. Lil Kid Suave, while we were under break and around board with Wiza, there was a bit of contact between these two in the hotel section that sent Wiza off into the hotel wall. He was able to continue, no big issue, but that's definitely one of those things that will likely get looked at later in the event, and it's cost Wiza a significant amount of time. So if Wiza's trying to make a alternate strategy work, he needs to dispose of our champion and just outrun him sometime sooner rather than later, but that just does not seem to be happening. Again, pitting early gives you a massive amount of track position advantage, so even if Wiza has a little bit of advantage potentially long-term in the race by kind of pit stop compared to Suave, it may not matter if Suave is just constantly right there on top of Wiza, fighting with them. Savage still ahead of Subaru for the moment, but Savage's tires have got to be absolutely cooked right now. 64, almost 65%, and Subaru is in his draft. This duo is now 12.5 to 13 seconds out from our leader, Car Relamps, who we think might be on a 4-stop strategy, pitting once every 9 to 10 laps, just so he never really stresses the medium tires too much. Again, Savage and Subaru are fighting for second and third place in the championship. Subaru had a 19-point advantage over Savage coming into today's race. So Savage not only would have to finish second, he would need Subaru to have some sort of disconnect or some sort of catastrophe that caused him to fall and plummet well down the grid. But with everyone still on the lead lap right now, that is possible. Savage finally says, I've had enough, and he nearly misses the pit in. That was a very slow pit in, very suboptimal, and that's really going to hurt him there. As Wiza finally pulled away from Lil Kid Suave a little bit, enough to try and make this strategy of his work. He now has to make up a lot of ground, but Wiza trying to make what we believe is a 3-stop strategy work right now, and finally having cleared Suave, it should start coming back in his favor. Then Captain Dan and Appa still having a little bit of a stalking battle between each other. Car Relamps is your leader. The question is, when is he going to pit? My guess is lap 19 to 20, just so he doesn't ever stress these medium tires. Although running wide like that's not going to help. We look at the penalties, 3.7 seconds for Car Relamps. And just for comparison, IRT Subaru, no time penalties still at this stage of the race. No time penalties still this steep into the race, while every other driver has earned some level of time penalties. So if we got a restart, especially a late race restart, Subaru is in a decent position to pick up a lot of spots just by not having these penalties, especially if other drivers keep seeing penalties rack up as their tires are falling off here. This is not like Watkins where, well, I'm not going to say it's hard to get time penalties there. It wasn't super easy to get. Oh, Relapse just continues to lick that outside wall there. But it's very easy to get penalties here. It's wide open space off of the track, meaning that you actually get deemed for track violations. It's so easy to slide wide or cut a little bit too aggressively. So when does Relapse pit? He could probably go for another lap or two. He probably stay out for this lap and one more afterwards. So if he goes lap 10, lap 20, lap 30, lap 40, that final stint he could throw on the soft tires and be absolutely fine to the end if he wants to stretch his medium tires out to 10 laps instead of 9 laps. Wiza, who is on what we believe is a 3-stop strategy, though, is way behind him, though, but has fewer time penalties. But look at that gap, 25 seconds between Wiza and Relapse right now. Makes it seem very unlikely, to me at least, that Wiza will have a shot at catching Relapse unless Relapse has some sort of hiccup. And if Relapse is being really cautious and conservative with his tire choice throughout the run, it's going to be less likely that he's going to overtax his tires while making pit stops and slide wide and miss the pit entry here. So he'll probably still be in a good position. Suave runs in 4th right now, and Suave had that wild race last week. Started not even on the front row, took the lead in just a corner and a half, led a bunch of laps, slipped down the order, crashed with his teammate, had a restart, pitted, didn't time the pit very well, fell to last on track, and had to drive his way from last place to 2nd place finish at Watkins. A very chaotic, all over the place day for your Porsche Cup champion, Suave, running 4th right now, looking to have maybe a little bit calmer day to wrap up this championship season for himself. But he has closed back in on Wiza as this has gone on, and that likely will slow Wiza down as Wiza continuing what we think is a 3-stop strategy. Suave, we think, is likely going to be mimicking Relapse on a 4-stop strategy. And Relapse stayed out another lap. What of Subaru? Subaru staying out and really pushing the life on their tires as well, it would appear. So now I wonder, is Subaru and Relapse running a similar strategy, but just flipped? Is Subaru choosing to run the very first stint of the race on softs, and then run mediums all the way to the end, and then Relapse doing the opposite, running the very first stint on running all the stints on mediums except the last, and run softs to the very end? I look once again at this fight for 3rd and 4th. Just compare the tire wear between the two of them. Suave, 45%. Wait a second, how much fuel did it say you have left? 9%. Ooh, yeah. Suave is definitely mimicking Relapse's strategy. And then you have Wiza, heavier fuel load. Not as extreme tire wear, though, obviously. So Wiza definitely on a 3-stop. Suave on a 4-stop, mimicking what Relapse is going for right now. Well, if Wiza and Suave stay on top of each other like this all the way through, Wiza is going to have the advantage on Suave because Wiza is going to be able to delete an entire extra pit stop compared to Suave. But the thing is, the gap between Wiza and Relapse is so big, and with Relapse likely going to a 4-stop strategy, Wiza is just not fast enough or close enough to really nip Relapse by the end of this run. But Wiza might be able to nip Subaru, who is in 2nd place and about to pit likely at the end of this lap. Relapse is pitting. Relapse apparently is only going 10 laps on their medium tires. 57% is a little bit more wear than, you know, he might be happy with, but he's not pushing anywhere near as far as Wiza is or any of his other rivals. So I think Relapse is doing the 4-stop strategy and could, if he so chooses, throw on softs at the very end. Subaru still out on track. He's going to go another lap, 65% wear right now, but Subaru is going to inherit the race lead ever so briefly now. Or I should say re-inherit the race lead ever so briefly now. So my question is going to be, where is Relapse going to be in relation to Wiza and Lil Kid Suave? Well, he's just lost the position of both of them now. And Suave has just muscled his way by Wiza as well. Relamp still has not come out of pit lane. Still hasn't come out of pit lane. And only now does he put the power down. Seems like the ticker has a massive hiccup every single time Subaru goes into the lead here. And Suave and Wiza still going at it. Suave holds the inside, Wiza holding the outside line. But Suave will have to pit likely at the end of this lap. Because again, Suave is doing the same strategy as Relamp, so he pitted one lap later. So going for something a little bit more tire-saving focused, I imagine. Kyle Sawyer now pits out of last place. So there's a very strong possibility that Sawyer is going to go a lap down now. If he's going a lap down now, he might end up being 2 laps down by the end of this race. If it goes green, flag to flag here. Subaru did not pit this lap by. Well, Subaru is just about caught by these guys, actually. Oh my goodness, he's pushed these tires a bit too far. 71%, he's just about been caught. He's gonna have to emergency stop this lap by. You gotta come in this time, Subaru. Will he make it? Will he be able to make it into the pits? Suboptimal, but he is in, and Suave joined them in the pits. So Suave actually caught Subaru just as they both pitted, but now they both only have to go about 25 more laps, 26 more laps. That's not a great number, doesn't matter how you cut it though. Wiza now inherits the lead over Car Relamps though. And Pip Central is briefly going to go back into third. And yeah, Wiza not too far off from catching Kyle Sawyer. Again, if Wiza is on this 3-stop strategy that we think he is on, his next stop will be in 2 more laps. So not this lap, not next lap, but the lap after next lap. And he will be losing a lot of time near the end. But the gap that he has on everyone who's not Relamps, and to a lesser extent Pip Central, is incredible. And Pip, to be fair, has been going very aggressively on the soft tire compound, and he's likely going to be pitting at the same time or a little earlier than Wiza anyway. After coming out of pit lane, Subaru and Suave right on top of each other. This is your top 2 drivers in the championship. Suave, your season champion, and Subaru, who's trying to secure 2nd place in the championship over Savage, who currently runs ahead of him on track, but on an alternate strategy. But it does look like Subaru has the pace over Suave and is already starting to pull a gap here. So what we're going to do is we are going to ride on board for a flying lap with Car Relamps, our pole sitter, and the driver that we believe has the pace to make almost any strategy work. And we are going to see Relamps go way up the track. But we're going to ride on board for a flying lap with Relamps here at Yas Marina. We'll be back shortly.